bet you're worried. I was worried. That's why I began this piece. I was worried about vaginas. I was worried about what people think about them, and even more worried that we don't think about them. I was worried about my own vagina. I needed a culture, a context, a community of other vaginas. There's so much secrecy and darkness surrounding them. It's like the Bermuda Triangle. Nobody ever comes back from there. You see, it's not so easy even to find your vagina. Women go weeks, months, even years without seeing it. I once interviewed a high-powered businesswoman who told me she was busy. She didn't have time. Looking at your vagina, she said, is a full day's work. You gotta get down there, on the floor, on your back, in front of a mirror, full length preferred. You gotta get the right angle and the right light, which is then somehow shadowed by the mirror and the angle that you're at, and you're arching your back and you're twisting your neck. It's exhausting. She was busy. She didn't have time. So, I decided to interview women about their vaginas, to do vagina interviews, which then turned into Vagina Monologues. I interviewed over 200 women. I interviewed older women, younger women, married women, single women. I interviewed lesbians, college professors, actors, corporate professionals, sex workers. I interviewed African American women, Hispanic women, Native American women, Asian American women, Caucasian women, Jewish women. At first, they were a little shy, a little reluctant to talk. But when they started, they would not stop. See, women secretly love to talk about their vaginas. They are really excited. They do. Probably because no one's ever asked them. So let's start with the word vagina. Vagina. It sounds like an infection at best, maybe a medical instrument. Hurry, nurse, bring me the vagina. 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 No matter how many times you say it, it never sounds like a word you want to say. A completely ridiculous, totally unsexy word, and if you tried to use it in the bedroom to be politically correct, can you please rub my vagina? Ruin the act right there. I'm worried about vaginas, what we call them and what we don't call them. In the Great Neck, they call it a pussycat. I had a woman once tell me that her mother used to tell her, don't wear panties underneath your pajamas, dear. You need to air out your pussycat. In Westchester, they call it a pookie. In New Jersey, a twat. There's powder box, derriere, a poochie, a poopy, a pee-pee, a poopeloo, a punani, a pal, and a peach. There's toady, dee-dee, nishi, dignity, monkey box, coochie snorcher, cooter, labe, Gladys Siegelman. There's va, wee-wee, horse spot, nappy dugout, mongo, a pajama, a fanny boo, mushmallow, ghoulie. There's tomali, a totita, a posible, a cani, a mimi in Miami, a split knish in Philadelphia, and a schmende in the Bronx. I am worried about vaginas.
Hi everybody, welcome. Thank you for coming to the Vagina Monologues. I'm Sofía Leyva.
I'm Bizzy Stephenson.
And we are two of the co-facilitators for FemCom here at St. Thomas. I just want to give a shout out to our other co-facilitator, Anna, is in the show, so you'll see her later tonight. And Sadie and Benny, our last two facilitators, welcomed you in this morning with programs, if you got them, and with our little donation bin. So thank you so much for coming. We just want to remind you to donate to Women's Advocates, that they are here in St. Paul and Grand Avenue. They're a shelter for women and children.
Yeah, so there'll be a reception afterwards where you can donate. We'll also have some food afterwards. This is cool if you want to hang out. I also just want to throw out like just one last content warning. Some of the monologues deal with some really heavy topics like sexual violence and abuse, so if that's something that might bring something up for you, take care of yourself in that. And then also we have a lot of resources out in the lobby, some pamphlets about how to like get support or if you want to report. We got some pamphlets in the lobby for that as far as like St. Thomas resources and off-campus stuff too. So that's that, yeah. And then I just want to like recognize that, so the Vagina Monologues is a play. It was written in 1996 by Eve Ensler. She wrote the play based on a series of 200 interviews that she did with various women from varying backgrounds. And in that, we want to recognize that our cast is not sharing personal experiences of things that happened to them, although maybe they relate to the story, maybe they don't. But they're actors, they are a cast in a play, and then also we want to recognize that although she conducted a lot of interviews, the play does not represent the stories of like all women, and neither does our cast. So thank you for coming. Happy International Women's Day, and enjoy the show.
If your vagina got dressed, what would it wear? Let's see. If my vagina got dressed, what would it wear? Glasses, a beret, a leather jacket, silk stockings, mink, a pink boa, a male tuxedo, jeans, something form-fitting, emeralds, an evening gown, sequins, Armani only, a tutu, see-through black underwear, a taffeta ball gown, something machine washable, costume eye mask, purple velvet pajamas, angora, a red bow, ermine and pearls, a leopard hat, a silk kimono, sweatpants, a tattoo, an electrical shock device to keep unwanted strangers away, heels, lace, and combat boots, purple feathers, twigs, and shells, cotton, a pinafore, a bikini, a slicker.
Pearl was asked, if your vagina got dressed, what would it wear? Red high tops and a Mets cap worn backwards. If your vagina could speak, what would it say? Words that begin with T and V. Violin and turtle are examples. What does your vagina remind you of? A pretty dark peach, or a diamond I found from a treasure and it's all mine. What is special about your vagina? I know that somewhere deep inside it has a really, really smart brain. What does your vagina smell like? Snowflakes.
Women aged 65 to 75 were interviewed. These were likely the most poignant, possibly because many of these women had never had a vagina interview before. A woman aged 72 had never even seen her vagina. She had never had an orgasm. Then she went to therapy at age 72, as they do in New York. And with the help of her therapist, she went home one afternoon, drew a bath, lit some candles, played some music, and got down with herself. She said it took over an hour because she was arthritic. But she also said when she found her clitoris, she cried. This monologue is for her.
Down there? I haven't been down there since 1953. No, it had nothing to do with Eisenhower, no. No, it's a cellar down there. It's very damp and clammy. You don't want to go down there. Trust me, you'd get sick, suffocating, very nauseating. The smell of the clamminess and the mildew and everything, and it smells unbearable. Gets in your clothes. No, there was no accident down there. Didn't blow up or catch on fire or anything. It wasn't so dramatic. I mean, well, no, never mind. No, never mind. I can't tell you this. What's a smart girl like you going around asking old ladies about her down there for? We didn't do this kind of a thing when I was a girl. What? Jesus, okay. Well, there was this boy, Andy Levkoff. He was cute, well, I thought so, and tall like me, and I really liked him. He asked me out for a date in his brand new car, and never mind. I really can't talk to you about this. I can't talk about my down there, okay? It's just there. It's like the cellar. There's rumbles down there, you hear pipes, things get caught, little animals and such. Sometimes things get wet. People have to come plug up the leaks. Otherwise, the door stays closed. It's part of the house, but you don't see it or think about it. But, every house has to have a cellar, otherwise the bedroom would be in the basement. Oh, Andy Levkoff, right. Andy was very good looking, okay? He was a catch, that's what they called it back in my day. So we were in his car, a brand new Chevy white Bel Air. I remember thinking my legs, they were too long for the car. I have very long legs. And they were smooshed up against the dashboard. And I was staring down at my big kneecaps when suddenly he kissed me in a surprising take me by control like they do in the movies sort of way. And I got excited. So excited that there was a flood down there. I just couldn't control it. It was like this force of passion, this river of life just flooded out of me right through my panties onto the seat of his brand new Chevy white Bel Air. It wasn't pee, but it was smelly. Well, frankly, I didn't smell anything at all. But Andy said it smelled like sour milk. I was a stinky, weird girl, he said. I tried to explain to him that I wasn't normally like this, that his kiss had just caught me off guard. And I tried to clean up the flood with my dress. It was a brand new yellow primrose dress, and it looked ugly with the flood on it. Andy drove me home without saying another word. And I remember I got out of his car, shut the car door, shut the whole store, locked it, never opened for business again. I dated some after that, but the thought of flooding always made me too nervous. I never even got close again. I used to have these dreams. Oh, they were dopey. Why? Burt Reynolds. I don't know why. He never did much for me in my personal life. But in my dream, it was always Burt and I, Burt and I, Burt and I. It was always the same general dream. We'd be in this restaurant, the kind you'd see in Atlantic City, with the big chandeliers and the thousands of waiters with the vests. Burt would bring me an orchid corsage. I'd pin it to my blazer. We'd be laughing. We were always laughing, Burt and I. Laughing. We ordered shrimp, huge shrimp, fabulous shrimp. We'd laugh some more. We were very happy together. Then, he would look me into my eyes, pull me into the middle of the restaurant, and right before he was about to kiss me, the whole restaurant would start to shake. Pigeons would fly out from underneath the car seat, or from underneath the seats. I don't know what those pigeons were doing there. And the whole restaurant would fill with my flood. It would pour out of me. It would pour and it would pour. And Burt would be standing waist deep in it, looking horribly disappointed in me that I had done it again, watching his friends, Dean Martin and the like, swim past in their tuxedos and evening gowns. I don't have those dreams anymore. Not since they took out just about everything connected with down there. The uterus, the tubes, the whole works. The doctor thought he was being very funny. He said, if you don't use it, you'll lose it. But really, I found out it was cancer. Everything around it had to go. But who needs it anyway, right? Highly overrated. I'd done other things. I love the dog shows and I sell antiques. You asked me what it would wear? What kind of question is that? What would it wear? It would have a big sign, closed, due to flooding. What would it say? I told you it's not like that. It's not like a thing that talks. Okay, it stopped being a thing a long time ago. It's a place you don't go. It's closed up, it's under the house, it's down there. You happy? You got me to talk. You got an old lady to talk about her down there. You feel better now? You know, actually, you are the first person I've ever told about this. And I do feel a little better.
Second grade, 7 years old. My brother was talking about periods. I didn't like the way he was laughing. I went to my mother. "What's a period?" I said. "It's punctuation. You put it at the end of a sentence." I was 13. My father brought me a card. "To my little girl, who isn't so little anymore." I was terrified. My mother showed me the thick sanitary napkins. I was to put the used ones in the can underneath the kitchen sink. I remember being one of the last. I was 13. I was so afraid. I started putting the used pads in brown paper bags and hiding them in the dark places under the roof. I remember I was 12 years old. I hadn't gotten dressed, still in my underpants. Looked down on the stairs, there it was. Looked down and I saw blood. 8th grade, my mother said, "Oh, that's nice." Junior high, brown drips before it came coincided with the little hairs under my arms, which grew unevenly. One armpit had hair, the other didn't. I was 16, sort of scared. My mother gave me codeine. We had bunk beds. I went down and lay there. She was so uncomfortable. One night I came home late, snuck into bed without turning on the lights. She had found the used pads and put them between the sheets of my bed. 7th grade, my mother sort of noticed my underwear. Then she got me plastic diapers. My mother was very warm. "Let's get you a pad," she said. My friend Marcia, her family celebrated when she got hers. They had a dinner. We all wanted it to come. We all wanted it now. I was 13. It was before Kotex. Had to watch her dress. I was black and poor, blood stains in church. Couldn't tell, but I was still guilty. 10.5, no preparation, brown gunk on my underpants. My mother showed me how to put in a tampon. I only got it in halfway. I associated my period with inexplicable phenomena. I was 16. Sort of awkward. My mother said that I wasn't allowed to use tampons. Couldn't put anything in your sugar dish. 15 years old. My mother said mazel tov and she slapped me across the face. Couldn't tell if it was a good thing or a bad thing. My period, like cake mix, before it's baked. Indians sat on moss for 5 days. Wish I were Native American. 15 years old. I'd been hoping to get it. I was tall and kept on growing. When I heard white girls talking about tampons in gym class, I thought they were bad girls. Saw little red drops on the pink tiles. I said, "Yep." Used OB and liked putting my fingers up there. 11 years old, wearing white pants. Blood started coming out. Thought it was dreadful. I'm not ready. I got back pains. I got horny. 12 years old, I was happy. My friend had a Ouija board. We asked when we would get our periods. Looked down and I saw blood. Looked down and there it was. I'm a woman, terrified. Never thought it would come. Changed my whole feeling about myself. I became more silent and mature. A good Vietnamese woman. Hardworking, virtuous, silent. 9.5. Convinced I was bleeding to death. Rolled on my underwear and threw them in a corner. Didn't want to worry my parents. My mother made me hot water and wine and I fell asleep. I had a comic book collection. I was in my bedroom in my mother's apartment. She came in and said, "You mustn't lift your box of comics." My girlfriends told me you hemorrhage every month.
Dear Mrs. Carling, please excuse my daughter from basketball. She has just matured. At camp, they told me not to take a bath with my period. They wiped me down in antiseptic. Scared people would smell it. Worried they'd say I smell like fish. Throwing up, couldn't eat. I got hungry. Sometimes it's red. I like the drops that drop into the toilet, like paint. Sometimes it's brown and it disturbs me. 12 years old. My mother slapped me and got me a red cotton shirt. My father went out for a bottle of sangria.
My future daughter, to my younger self, it is going to be okay. Today you're just a tiny squash-sized human in my belly, but someday, you're going to be exactly who you're meant to be.
The liberated, independent woman. One day you will be the relatable character from a TV show that people imitate at parties. One day you will be accepted by not others, but yourself. One day you will simply be.
You'll be the woman I am most proud of. Without even doing a thing, you're my favorite. You have power, resilience, joy, independence, love, and someday you'll see all of this too. And I hope that this day comes soon and it never wavers, but I'll be right here if it does.
You are not a mistake. You are not this sorry shell of a human being you sometimes feel you are.
You are not the reason for my pain or anguish, even though you might feel my sadness in the womb.
Who made you question that you were not enough?
What can I do to make sure you know that you're more than enough?
Why do you not reciprocate the love that others give you to yourself?
How can I rejoice in your presence without suffocating you with dependence?
Many times we like to answer these questions and place blame on society, but sometimes it is more than that. There is no obvious answer. Rather, a melange of reasons that made you feel less than.
I wish I had every answer, and I wish I could take away the pain you feel if you feel yourself become a shadow, the very shadow I felt myself become when I was young.
Maybe it was a side comment your cousin made about your vagina that stunted your sex life. Maybe it was the fear that you're not good enough to be loved or to be touched by anyone. Maybe it was being known as somebody's little sister that made you feel undeserving of your own title. But maybe it was all in your head and you have always been enough. Pretty enough, kind enough, funny enough, just enough.
I hope I never have to introduce the word enough to you when it comes to talking about yourself, because this stupid adverb of sorts still haunts me. What was I doing when I felt I wasn't enough? Who was I comparing myself to? And who even determines the scale of enoughness anyway? The word holds no weight. It only pushes you backward.
I hope one day you realize the beauty behind the madness.
I hope from day one that you realize the serendipity of living.
The light at the end of the tunnel, the rarity of your mind, the eloquence of your laugh.
The joy that comes just beyond the turmoil, the complexity of your emotions, the originality of your story.
The power of your voice. Not many get the privilege to express themselves like you do. Not many have the courage to tell their story. Not many get the chance to acknowledge their worth.
We live in a world in which equity is nearly extinct, where people are born with privilege based upon their genitalia and the color of the skin they live in. We are born with privilege, and for that, we are so lucky, and we must share and help others.
You have an arsenal of tools from which you can draw. Your friends, your family, your lady parts, your brain, your words, yourself.
The pink of your vagina gives you rights that you may not even notice, and for that, we have to fight for all women. Otherwise, I feel like we aren't being women at all.
Believe in yourself, or no one will. Tell your story, or no one will. Do not sit by idly wishing you were someone else while you watch everyone live what could be your reality. You could be the masterpiece of someone's mind, blooming and withering, growing and falling, loving and losing.
Please, please do not let the simplicity of a body part make you feel lesser than. You have every right to know about the beautiful body you live in.
You know what? Just think. If we didn't have vaginas, we probably wouldn't be worried about any of that.
You're so right. Like, I could scratch my privates in public without a second glance.
I could let my shoulders show and wear tank tops in public schools.
I wouldn't feel obligated to shave my legs or my pubes or my armpits.
I wouldn't queef during sex.
I could walk home alone at night before it gets dark.
I wouldn't get up from a chair with the faint anxiety that I have blood on my jeans.
I wouldn't shit violently when I'm on my period.
I'd be paid more.
I'd have the entire history of the United States written in our favor.
We'd be free. But at the same time, I think we'd be bored.
Yeah, like what content will we have for a hypothetical show?
So like, how big is yours?
You know,
Like big?
dude, it's a good size.
Yeah, I just don't think that would work well.
Yeah. With our fiery flaming vaginas, we have content for a hypothetical show that we hope Comedy Central picks up soon.
You know, there's a market in TV for two straight white girls having crises.
Really?
No.
You'd think they'd want to watch us tear out our tampons when we're drunk.
Or worse, when you forget to take it out that night and then you wake up the next morning frantic.
Or the first time you shave down there and it looks like a crime scene.
Or for me right now, trying to shave down there, but then falling over because I can't see past my belly.
When you smell tuna and hope to God it isn't you? It's me?
Anyway, our vaginas give us stories that help us link up with other people who have vaginas, which is what we're doing in the bathroom for so long. Literally just talking about our vaginas.
You know, maybe our vaginas aren't a detriment, but a superpower.
You're right. I mean, it did give me this.
Aww. Yeah, and this morning it gave me 3 minutes of pure bliss.
So we should be celebrating our vaginas.
Power to the pussy.
So, to my future daughter,
And to my younger self,
it is going to be okay.
My vagina is a shell, a round, pink, tender shell, opening and closing, closing and opening. My vagina is a flower, an eccentric tulip. Its center deep and acute, the scent delicate, the petals gentle but sturdy. I didn't always know this. I learned this at the Vagina Workshop. I learned this from the woman who ran the Vagina Workshop, a woman who truly believes in vaginas, who really sees vaginas, who helps women see their own vaginas by seeing other women's vaginas. In the first session, the woman who ran the Vagina Workshop asked us to draw our own beautiful, fabulous, unique vaginas. That's what she called it. She wanted to know what our own beautiful, fabulous, unique vaginas looked like to us. One woman who was pregnant drew a large red mouth with coins spilling out. Another very skinny woman drew a large serving plate with sort of Devonshire pattern around it. I drew a big black dot with little squiggly lines. The black dot was like a black hole in space, and the squiggly lines were like people or things or your basic atoms that got lost there. I always thought of my vagina as a sort of anatomical vacuum, randomly sucking up things and particles from the surrounding environment. Surrounding environment. Then the woman who ran the workshop asked us to take our hand mirrors and look at our vaginas. Then, after careful examination, we were to report verbally to the group what we saw. Now, I must tell you that up until this point, the only thing I knew about my vagina was based on hearsay or invention. I had never seen the thing. I also had never thought to look at it. It seemed so awkward and reductive, the way that we were looking at it in the workshop with our little hand mirrors. It reminded me of how the early astronomers must have felt with their primitive telescopes. I found it quite unsettling at first, my vagina. Like the first time you cut open a fish and see this and discover this bloody, complex world inside, right underneath the skin. It was so raw, so red, so fresh. The thing that surprised me most were the layers. Layers inside layers, opening into more layers. My vagina amazed me. I couldn't speak when it came my turn in the workshop. I was speechless. I had awakened to what the woman who ran the workshop called vaginal wonder. I just wanted to lay on my mat with my legs spread and examine my vagina forever. Then the woman who ran the workshop asked how many women in the workshop had had orgasms. 2 women tentatively raised their hands. I didn't raise my hand, but I had had orgasms. I didn't raise my hand because they were accidental orgasms. They happened to me. They happened in my sleep, and I'd wake in splendor. They happened a lot in water, mostly in the bath, but once in Cape Cod. They happened on horses, on bicycles, and sometimes a treadmill at the gym. I didn't raise my hand because although I had had orgasms, I didn't know how to make one happen. They seemed like this mystical, magical thing, and it felt wrong to get involved. It felt wrong to interfere, like contrived, manipulative. It felt Hollywood. I didn't raise my hand because I didn't know how to make it happen. Then, the moment that I had both dreaded and longed for had arrived. The woman who ran the workshop asked us to take out our hand mirrors and see if we could find our clitoris. There we were, the group of us women, on our backs, on our mats, with our hand mirrors, trying to find our spot, our locus, our reason, and I don't know why, but I started crying. Maybe it was from sheer embarrassment, but maybe it was from knowing that this fantasy had to come to an end. This life-consuming fantasy that someone or something was going to do this for me, that someone was coming to lead my life, choose direction, and give me orgasms. The simultaneous terror and realization that I had avoided finding my own clitoris because I was in fact terrified that I did not have a clitoris. Terrified that I was one of those incapables, one of those frigid, dead, shut down, dry, apricot tasting, bitter. Oh my God, I lay there reaching with my fingers, looking for my spot. But all I could think about was the time that I was 10 and I lost my gold ring with the emeralds at the bottom of a lake. How I kept diving over and over again, looking for it, running my hands over stones and fish and bottle caps and slimy stuff, but never my ring. The panic I felt, I knew I'd be punished. The woman who ran the workshop saw me by sweating and hard breathing and came over to me. I told her, I lost it, I can't find my clitoris, I shouldn't have worn it swimming. And she laughed at me. She told me my clitoris was not something that I could lose, that it was me, she said, the essence of me. It was both the doorbell to my house and the house itself. I didn't need to find it. I needed to be it. Be it. Be my clitoris. Be my clitoris. I lay back on my mat, put down my hand mirror, and closed my eyes. I watched myself floating above myself. I watched as I slowly began to approach myself and re-enter. I felt like an astronaut re-entering the surface of the earth. It was gentle, this re-entry, gentle and quiet. I bounced and landed and bounced. I came into my muscles and my blood and my cells, and then I slid into my vagina. It was suddenly easy, and I fit. I was all warm and pulsing and young and ready and alive. Young and alive. Then, with my eyes still closed, I put my finger on what had suddenly become me. There was a quivering at first, which urged me to stay, but the quivering became a quaking, became an eruption, the layers dividing and subdividing. The quaking broke open into a horizon of light and silence that broke open into a plane of color and music and innocence and longing, and I felt this connection, this calling connection, as I lay there writhing on my little blue mat. My vagina is a shell a tulip and a destiny. I'm arriving as I am beginning to leave my vagina, me.
What does your vagina smell like? Earth, wet, garbage. God, water, a brand new morning. Depth, sweet ginger, sweat. Depends. Musk, me, mostly. No smell, I've been told. Pineapple, chalice essence, Paloma, Picasso. Earthy meat and musk. Cinnamon and cloves. Roses, spicy, musky, jasmine, forest. Deep, deep forest. Damp moss, yummy candy. The South Pacific, somewhere between fish and lilacs. Peaches, the woods. Ripe fruit, strawberry, kiwi, tea, heaven. Cheese, ocean, sexy, a sponge. The beginning.
This monologue is based on interviews by Eve Ensler with women from the Oglala Lakota Nation on the Pine Ridge Reservation in South Dakota. Their stories reflect the challenges that Native women face every day living in isolation and without resources. According to the U.S. Bureau of Justice Statistics, the average annual rate of rape and sexual assault among American Indian women is 3.5 times higher than all other races. This issue is highlighted by the Missing and Murdered Indigenous Women's Movement, which aims to expose how violence against women disproportionately affects the Indigenous population. Although there are databases to record the abuse of all other women of color, there is no database to record the violence against Indigenous women. Because there is no work currently being done by the U.S. government to seek justice for Indigenous women, stories like the one that follow are all too common.
He said he wanted to go out. He said, "You stay home." I said I wanted to go out. He said, "You have a baby." I said, "We have a baby." I put the baby down. He must have felt my tension. He was whimpering my baby. I looked up and he slapped me, my husband. Not the kind of smack that knocks your eyes blue, that came later, but a hard domestic slap. He looked at me. He was smiling. I couldn't believe it. He was smiling. His father was vicious to his mother. What was that? He was smiling. He was so kind. He had long black hair. I'd braid it. When we made love, it came loose before. He made me go out with his boss. I didn't want to. He kicked me under the table, told me to look happy, told me to smile. I smiled. He kicked me under the table and asked me who I was trying to fuck. I stopped smiling. He kicked me. This went on and on. Outside the restaurant, he grabbed my hair and pulled me to the ground. It was snowing. He buried me in the snow. He pounded me into the gutter. The snow was melting. It was sloppy and muddy. I remember it felt like my hair was bleeding. I ran to. He was drinking. I was too. I must have blacked out. I woke up after 5 brain surgeries. My hair was gone. They shaved it off. I had to relearn how to move my arms, how to talk. It took me 4 months to remember how to cook breakfast. I put the egg in the pan with the bacon. The egg felt right, I just didn't remember to crack it open. The egg in the pan, in the shell, I was bald. 18 years and he'd beat me in the morning. When he was so nice again, I'd braid his hair for him. I'd take my time like I cared so much, and I'd do it perfectly crooked. I'd braid it so the hair would stand up all crazy-like, and when I was done, he'd go forgetting that the bruises on my face were his handprints. He'd walk down the street all macho, down the road all cocky, and his hair would be so crooked and stupid and wrong. It shouldn't have made me that happy. It just shouldn't have made me that happy. I didn't want to have sex with him. He was drunk. I was just a piece of meat to him, a big hole. I tried to pretend I was asleep, but he elbowed me and pulled me up. I remember thinking, just get it over with. He kept pumping and pumping until I was sore. I told him it didn't feel good. He said, "Who have you been fucking? Were they bigger than me? Did you like it? You're like a mouse with a lion. You have to run fast to the door." But he picked me up like I was a rag. I could hear my son screaming. I looked. His mouth was open, his tonsils, I could see his tonsils. My husband beat the shit out of me. He wrapped my long hair around his hand and pulled my head around. I reached for my son, and he stopped me. He said, "That's not your son." My hair's still in his hand. "That's not your son anymore." Now he calls me, weeping in the middle of the night, says he didn't mean to beat his wife, says he didn't mean to batter her. He's suicidal, he knows what his mother went through, but he just can't stop. My son. They took our land, they took our ways, they took our men. We want them back.
If your vagina could speak, what would it say? Slow down. Feed me. I want. Oh, yum, yum. Oh, yeah. Start again. No, over there. Lick me. No. What are you doing? Stay home. Ooh, a brave choice. And think again. Yes, please. Ooh, embrace me. Let's play. Don't stop. Yes, yes. Remember me? Well, Mama. Rock me. Yes, yes. Enter at your own risk. Oh, God. Thank God. I'm here. Let's go. Let's go. Find me. Thank you. Ooh, bonjour. Wait, what are you doing? Okay. Too hard. Interesting choice. Would I? Yeah. Sassy. Uh-oh. That hurt! Thank you. Where's Brian? That's better. Ooh, yes. There. There.
This monologue was based on an interview with a woman who had a good experience with a man because he liked to look at it. This is how I came to love my vagina. It's embarrassing because it's not politically correct. I know it should have happened in a bath with salt grains from the Dead Sea. Enya playing. Me loving my woman's self. I know the story. Vaginas are beautiful. Our self-hatred is only the internalized hatred and repression of the patriarchal culture. It isn't real. Pussies unite. I know all of it. Like if we had grown up in a culture where we were taught that fat thighs were beautiful, we'd all be pounding down milkshakes and Krispy Kreme donuts, spending our days lying on our backs, thigh expanding. But we didn't grow up in that culture. I hated my thighs and I hated my vagina even more. I thought it was incredibly ugly. I was one of those women who had taken one look at it and from that moment on wished I had not. It made me sick. I pitied anyone who had to go down there. In order to survive, I began to pretend there was something else between my legs. I pictured furniture, cozy futons with light cotton comforters, little velvet settees, leopard rugs, or pretty things. Silk handkerchiefs, quilted pot holders, or place settings. I got so accustomed to this that I lost all memory of even having a vagina. Each time a man was inside of me, I pictured him inside of a mink-lined muffler or a Chinese bowl. Then I met Bob. Bob was the most ordinary man I had ever met. He was thin and tall and nondescript and wore khaki tan clothes. He did not like spicy foods or listen to Prince. He had no interest in sexy lingerie. In the summer, he spent time in the shade. He did not share his inner feelings. He didn't have any problems or issues, and he wasn't even an alcoholic. He wasn't very funny or articulate or mysterious. He wasn't mean to me or unavailable. He wasn't self-involved or conceited, and he didn't drive fast. I didn't particularly like Bob. I would have missed him altogether if he wouldn't have picked up my change that I dropped on the deli floor. When he handed me back my quarters and pennies and his hand accidentally touched mine, something happened. I went to bed with him. That's when the miracle occurred. Turned out Bob loved vaginas. He was a connoisseur. He loved the way they felt, the way they tasted, the way they smelled, but most importantly, he loved the way they looked. He had to look at them. The first time we had sex, he told me he had to see me. Right here, I said. No, you, he said. I have to see you. Turn on the light, I said, thinking he was some kind of a weirdo and freaking out in the dark. He turned on the light. Then he said, okay, I'm ready to see you. I'm right here. I'm right here. Then he began to undress me. What are you doing, Bob? I need to see you. No need, I said, just do it. I need to see what you look like. But you've seen a red leather couch before, I said. Bob continued. He would not stop. I wanted to throw up and die. This is awfully intimate, I said. Can't you just do it? No, he said. It's who you are. I have to look. I held my breath. He looked and looked. He got breathy and his face started to change. He didn't look ordinary anymore. He looked like a hungry beast. You're so beautiful, he said. You're so elegant and deep and innocent and wild. You saw that there, I said. I saw that, he said, and much, much more. Bob stayed looking for almost an hour, as if he were studying a map, observing the moon, staring into my eyes, but it was my vagina. In the light, I watched him looking at me, and he was so genuinely excited, so peaceful and euphoric. I began to get wet and turned on. I began to see myself the way he saw me. I began to feel beautiful and delicious, like a great painting or a waterfall. Bob wasn't afraid. He wasn't grossed out. I began to swell, began to feel very proud, began to love my vagina. And Bob lost himself there. And I was there with him, in my vagina. And we were gone.
Women refugees were interviewed during the war in Yugoslavia in refugee camps and centers. 20 to 70,000 women were raped in the middle of Europe as a systematic tactic of war in 1993. It was shocking to see how little people did to stop it. But then again, in the United States each year, about 500,000 women are raped, which is a whole nother kind of war. This monologue is based on one woman's story. We do it tonight for that woman and the extraordinary women of Bosnia and Kosovo.
My vagina was my village. My vagina was green, water soft, pink fields, sun resting, cow mooing, sweet boyfriend touching lightly with soft piece of blonde straw. There is something between my legs. I do not know what it is. I do not know where it is. I do not touch. Not now, not anymore, not since. My vagina was chatty. Can't wait. So much saying words, talking, can't quit trying, can't quit saying, oh yes, not since I dream. There's a dead animal sewn in down there with thick, black fishing line. And the bad, dead animal smell cannot be removed, and it bleeds through all my summer dresses. My vagina singing all girl songs, all goat bell ringing songs, all wild autumn field songs, vagina home songs. Not since the soldiers put a long, thick rifle inside me, so cold. The steel canceling my heart, don't know whether they're going to fire it or shove it through my spinning brain, 6 of them. Monstrous doctors with black masks shoving bottles up me too. There are sticks and the end of a broom. My vagina, rushing river water, clean, swimming water, over sun-baked stones, over stone clit stones, over and over, not since I heard the skin tear and make lemon screeching sounds, not since a piece of my vagina came off in my hand. One part of the lip. Now, one side of the lip is completely gone. My vagina, alive, wet, water, village. My vagina, my hometown. Not since they took turns. For 7 days, smelling like feces and smoked meat, they left their dirty sperm inside me, and I became a river of poison and pus. And all the crops died, and the fish. My vagina, alive, wet, water, village. They invaded it, they butchered it, they burned it down. I do not touch anymore. I do not visit. I live someplace else now. I don't know where that is.
My vagina is angry. It is pissed off. My vagina is furious and it needs to talk. It needs to talk about all this shit. It needs to talk to you. I mean, what's the deal? An army of people out there thinking up ways to torture my poor ass, gentle, loving vagina. Spending their time picking up psycho products and nasty ideas to undermine my pussy. Vagina motherfuckers. All this shit, they're constantly trying to shove up us, stuff us up, clean us up, make it go away. Well, my vagina's not going away. It is staying right here and it is pissed off. Like tampons. What the hell is that? A dry wad of fucking cotton they've shoved up there. Why can't they find a way to subtly lubricate the tampon? As soon as my vagina sees it, it goes into shock. It closes up. It says, forget it. You've got to find a way to work with my vagina. Introduce it to things. Prepare the way. That is what foreplay is all about. You've got to convince my vagina, seduce my vagina, engage my vagina's trust. You can't do that with a dry wad of fucking cotton. Stop shoving things up me. Stop shoving and stop cleaning it up. My vagina doesn't need to be cleaned up. It smells good already. Don't try to decorate. Don't believe him when he tells you it smells like rose petals when it's supposed to smell like pussy. That's what they're trying to do. Clean it up, make it smell like bathroom spray or a garden. All those douche sprays like floral, berry, rain. I don't want my pussy to smell like berries or rain. Like cleaning a fish after you've cooked it. got to be a better way to do those exams. Like, why the scary paper dress that scratches my tits and scrunches up when I lie down so I feel like a wad of paper someone threw away? Why the rubber gloves? Why the flashlight all up there like Nancy Drew working against gravity? Why the mean cold duck lips and the Nazi steel stirrups? Why? There's got to be a better way to do those exams. Like, I mean, my vagina goes into shock. It says it won't leave the house. Then you get there and they're like, scoot down, relax your vagina. Why? So you can shove mean cold duck lips inside it? I don't think so. Why can't they find some delicious purple velvet to wrap me in? Lay me down on some feathery cotton spread. Put on some friendly pink or blue gloves. Lay my feet down in some fur-covered stirrups. Warm up the duck lips. Warm up my vagina. If my vagina could talk, it would talk about itself like me. It would talk about other vaginas. It would do vagina impressions. My vagina would wear Harry Winston diamonds. No clothing, just all there, draped in diamonds. My vagina is supposed to release a giant baby. It thought it would be doing more of that. It's not. Now it wants to travel, doesn't want a lot of company. It wants to read and talk and talk and talk. It wants comfort. It wants chocolate and gentle kisses and warm liquids. It wants depth. It wants to go deeper. It is hungry for depth. My vagina wants. It wants. It wants change. It wants to scream. It wants to stop being angry. My vagina, well, it wants everything.
In hundreds of interviews with homeless women for 13 years, only one reported not being sexually abused as a young girl or raped as a young woman. For many of these women, home was not a safe place. Ironically, the shelters were the first time that these women felt safe, secure, and comfort. This is a woman's story as she told it. What's not in this story, however, is the fact that this woman met another woman and they fell in love. And through their love, they were both able to get out of the shelter system together.
December 1965. Memory. 5 years old. My mama tells me in a loud, scary, life-threatening voice to stop scratching my coochie snorcher. I'm afraid that I scratched it off down there. I never touched myself again. Not even in the bath. I'm afraid of water getting in and filling me up so I explode. I put Band-Aids over my coochie to cover the hole, but they fall off in the water. So I imagine a stopper, a bathtub plug to prevent things from getting in. I sleep in 3 pairs of heart-shaped cotton underpants under my snap-up pajamas. I still want to touch myself sometimes, but I don't. Memory. Age 7. Edgar Montaigne, age 10, gets angry with me and punches me with all of his might right between my legs. And it feels like he breaks my entire self. So, I limp home. I can't pee. And my mama asks me what's wrong with my coochie snorcher. And I tell her what happened, and then she tells me to not let anybody touch me down there again. And then I try to explain to her that he didn't touch it, Mama. He punched it. Memory. 9 years old. So I'm playing on the bed, I'm jumping and falling, and I land on the bedpost with my coochie snorcher. And then I make all these high-pitched, screamy noises that come straight from my coochie snorcher's mouth. And I go to the hospital, and then they sew it up down there from where it's been torn apart. Yeah. Memory. 10 years old. I'm at my father's house. He's having a party. And everyone's drinking. I'm playing alone in the basement. And I'm trying on these brand new white cotton brown underpants that my father's girlfriend had bought for me. And then Alfred, my father's friend, this big man, suddenly comes up behind me and pulls down my brand new underpants and sticks his big, hard penis into my coochie snorcher. I scream, I kick, I try to fight him off, but he already gets in, and my father's there. He has a gun, and then there's this loud, horrible noise, and then there's blood all over me and Alfred. So much blood. Alfred is paralyzed for life, and my mama doesn't let me see my father for 7 years. Memory. 13 years old. My coochie snorcher is a very, very bad place. It is a place for pain. It is a place for nastiness, invasion, punching, and blood. It's a place for mishaps. It's a bad luck zone, so I imagine a highway between my legs, and I'm traveling. I'm going far away from here. Memory. 16 years old. So there's this gorgeous 24-year-old woman in our neighborhood, and I stare at her all the time. And then one day, she invites me into her car, and she asks me if I like to kiss boys. I tell her that I do not like that. And then she asks me if she can show me something. And she kisses me on my lips, with her lips, and puts her tongue in my mouth, and wow. Then she asks if I want to go over to her house, and she kisses me again, and she tells me to relax, to feel it, to let our tongues feel it. And then she asks my mother if I can stay the night. And my mother is delighted that such a beautiful, successful young woman has taken an interest in me. Yeah, I'm scared, and I can't wait. And her apartment is fantastic. She's got it all set up. It's the 70s, she's got the beads, the fluffy pillows, the mood lights. And I decided right then and there that I want to be a secretary just like her when I grow up. She makes herself a vodka, and then she asks what I want to drink. I say, I'll have what she's drinking. And she says, I don't think your mama would like you drinking vodka. And I say, she probably wouldn't like me kissing girls either. So the pretty lady makes me a drink. And then she changes into this beautiful chocolate teddy. And then she's so beautiful. I always thought bodegas were ugly. But I tell her, you look great. And she says, so do you. And I say, but all I've got on is this white cotton brown underpants. So she undresses me slowly and dresses me in another satin teddy. It's lavender, like the first soft days of spring. And now the alcohol's gone to my head, and I'm feeling loose and ready. And there is this picture above her bed of a naked black woman with a huge afro. And she lays me out on the bed and does all the things to me and my coochie snorcher that I thought were nasty before. I feel so hot
so wild that she tells me that your vagina, untouched by man, is so fresh, so clean. I wish I could keep it that way forever. Then I go crazy wild, and then the phone rings. And it's my mother. And I'm sure she knows. She always catches me at everything. So I'm breathing heavy, and then I try to sound normal on the phone, and she goes, "Girl, what's wrong with you? You been running?" And I go, "No, Mom, exercising." And then she talks to the pretty lady, and she tells her to make sure that I'm not around any boys. Then the pretty lady says, "Don't worry, there are no boys around here." And then afterwards, the pretty lady teaches me all about my coochie snorcher. She teaches me all the ways to pleasure myself, and she tells me to make sure that I know how I can pleasure myself, so I never need to rely on a man. In the morning, I'm terrified that I've turned butch because I am so in love with her. And she laughs, but I never see her again. Later, I realize she's become this unexpected, surprising, politically incorrect salvation. She turned my sorry-ass coochie snorcher and raised it into some kind of heaven.
You cannot love a vagina unless you love the hair. Many people do not love hair. My first and only husband hated hair. He said it was cluttered and dirty. He made me shave my vagina. It looked puffy and exposed, like a little girl. This excited him. When he made love to me, it felt the way a beard must feel. Good to rub, but very painful, like scratching a mosquito bite. There were screaming red bumps, and it felt as if it were on fire. I refused to shave it again. Then, my husband went and had an affair. When we went to marital therapy, he said he screwed around because I wouldn't please him sexually, because I wouldn't shave my vagina. Our marriage counselor had a German accent and would gasp between sentences to show her empathy. She asked me why I didn't want to please my husband, and I told her I thought it was weird. I felt little when the hair was gone down there, and the skin got irritated, and calamine lotion didn't help it. She told me marriage was a compromise. She told me I needed to jump in. She was sure that it was a good beginning. This time, when we got home, he got to shave my vagina. It was like a therapy bonus prize. He clipped it a few times, there was blood in the bathtub, and he didn't even care because he was so happy shaving my vagina. And then later, when my husband was pressing against me, I felt a spiky sharpness sticking into me, my naked, puffy vagina. There was no protection. There was no fluff. And that's when I realized the hair is there for a reason. It's the leaf around a flower, it's the lawn around the house. You cannot love the vagina unless you love the hair. You cannot pick the parts that you want. Besides, my husband never stopped screwing around.
I call it cunt. I'm reclaiming it. Cunt. I really like it. Cunt. Listen to it. Ka, cavern, cackle, clit, cute, come close, close, inside, then then curvy, inviting, snakeskin, uniform, under, up, urge, then kun, snug letters fitting perfectly together, nest, now, nexus, nice, always depth, always round in uppercase, kun, jagged, wicked, electrical, pulsing, and then soft and warm, kun, then a sharp, certain, tangy, texture, take, tent, tight, tantalizing, tensing, taste, tendrils, time, tactile, tell me, cunt, say it, tell me, cunt,
Raise your hand if you've ever heard of comfort woman. Okay, look around. The Japanese government coerced over 200,000 Korean women to be sex slaves for their army during World War II. These women are still waiting for their apology. We thought that this is an important story to tell because it's not told in the United States history books, like many other stories you've heard tonight. This is Say It for the Comfort Women.
Our stories exist only inside our heads, inside our ravaged bodies, inside a time and space of war and emptiness. There is no paper trail, nothing official on the books, only conscience, only this. What we were promised. That I would save my father if I went with them, that I would get a job, that I would serve my country, that they would kill me if I didn't go, that it was better there. What we found, no mountains, no trees, no water, yellow sand, a desert, a warehouse of tears, thousands of worried girls, my braid cut against my will, no time to wear panties. What we were forced to do, change our names, wear one-piece dresses with a button in the front. 50 Japanese soldiers a day. Sometimes there'd be a ship of them. Strange, barbaric things. Do it even when we bleed, do it young before we started bleeding. There were so many men, some wouldn't even take off their clothes, just took out their penis. So many men, I couldn't walk, I couldn't bend my legs, I couldn't stretch, I couldn't. What they did to us over and over, cursed, spanked, twisted, tore bloody inside out, drugged, sterilized, punched, slapped. What we saw, a girl drinking chemicals in the bathroom, a girl killed by a bomb, a girl beaten with a rifle over and over, a girl running headfirst into a wall, a girl's malnourished body dumped in the river to drown. What we weren't allowed to do, move around, wash ourselves, go to the doctor, use a condom, run away. Keep my baby, ask him to stop. What we caught, malaria, syphilis, gonorrhea, stillbirths, tuberculosis, heart disease, nervous breakdowns, hypochondria. What we were fed, rice, miso soup, turnip pickle, rice, miso soup, turnip pickle, rice, rice, rice. What we became, ruined, tools, infertile holes, bloody meat, exiled, silenced, alone. What we were left with? Nothing. A shocked father who never recovered and died. No wages, scars, a hatred of men, no children, no house. A space where a uterus once was. Booze, smoking, guilt, shame. What we were called? Comfort women. Women of indecent occupation. What we felt, my chest still trembles. What got taken, the springtime, my life. What we are. 74, 83, 89, 94. Blind, slow, ready. Waiting outside the Japanese embassy every Wednesday, no longer afraid. What we want. Now, soon, before we're gone and our stories leave this world, leave our heads. Japanese government, say it, please. We are sorry, comfort women. Say it to me. We are sorry to me. We are sorry to me. Say it to me. See me, say it. Sorry.
This is a vagina happy fact. The clitoris is pure in its purpose. It is the only organ in the body designed purely for pleasure. The clitoris is simply a bundle of nerve fibers. 8,000 nerve fibers to be precise. That's a higher concentration of nerve fibers than is found anywhere else in the male or female body, including the fingertips, the lips, the tongue, and it is twice the number in the penis.
I don't see them as separate things. Women pay me to dominate them, to excite them, to make them come. But I didn't start out like this. To the contrary, I started out as a lawyer. But in my late 30s, I became obsessed with making women happy. Began as a mission of sorts, until I became involved in it. I became quite good at it, kind of brilliant. It was my art. I started getting paid for it, and it was as if I found my calling. I wore outrageous outfits when I dominated women. Lace and silk and leather, and I used props. I loved props. Ropes, chains, handcuffs, whips, dildos. There was nothing like this in tax law. There were no props, there was no excitement, and I hated those blue corporate suits. Although they come in handy from time to time. I wear them now and again in my new line of work. They serve quite nicely. There were no props in corporate law. There was no wetness, no dark, mysterious foreplay, no erect nipples, no delicious mouths, but mainly, there was no moaning. Not the kind I'm talking about anyway. This was the key. I see it now. Moaning was the thing that ultimately seduced me and got me addicted to making women happy. When I was a girl, I would go to the movies and see women making love and making these strange orgasmic noises. I would laugh. I thought it was strangely hysterical. I couldn't believe that these outrageous, ungoverned sounds could come out of those women. I longed to moan. I practiced in front of my mirror, on a tape recorder, moaning in various keys and moaning in various tones. But when I played it back, it sounded fake. It was fake. It wasn't rooted in anything sexual, just my desire, to be sexual. But then, when I was 10, I had to pee really, really badly. It was on a car ride, and it lasted for almost an hour. And when I finally got to pee in this dirty little gas station, it was so exciting. I moaned. I moaned as I peed. I couldn't believe it. Me moaning in a Texaco gas station in the middle of Louisiana. I realized right then that moans were connected with not getting what you want right away, with putting things off. I realized right then that moans were best when they caught you off guard, and when they came out of this dark, mysterious place inside of you speaking its own language. I realized that moans were in fact that language. So I became a moaner. Frankly, it made most men anxious, terrified them. I was loud, and they couldn't concentrate on what they were doing. They lose focus, and then they lose everything. We couldn't make love in people's homes. The walls were too thin. I got a reputation in my building, and people stared at me with contempt in the elevator. I began to feel bad about my moans. I became quiet and polite. I learned to make noises into a pillow. I learned to choke back my moans. I began to get headaches and stress-related disorders. I was becoming hopeless until I discovered women. I discovered that most women loved my moans. And I discovered how deeply excited I got when other women moaned, when I was responsible for other women moaning. I made love to quiet women and found this place inside them that shocked themselves in their moans. I made love to moaners and found a deeper, more penetrating moan. It was a kind of surgery, a delicate kind of science. Finding the exact tempo and the exact location or home of the moan, as I like to call it. Now, sometimes I would find it over a woman's jeans. Sometimes I would sneak up on it and quietly disarm the surrounding alarms and move it. Sometimes I would use force, a 5'8", oppressing, more dominating force. Sit back and enjoy the ride, I'm going to take you somewhere kind of force. Sometimes it was simply mundane. Found it before anything started while we were eating a salad or chicken in the kitchen right there with my fingers. Here it is like that, real simple in the kitchen, all mixed in with the balsamic vinegar. Sometimes I used props. I loved props. Sometimes I made the women find their own moan in front of me. Now, I wouldn't be fooled by the minor, more obvious moans. No. I stuck it out, and I waited until she went all the way into her power moan. Now there's the clit moan. There's the vaginal moan. There's the combo clit vaginal moan. There's the almost moan. There's the right on it moan. There's the elegant moan. There's the wasp moan. There's the slightly more religious moan. Oh my God. There's the Irish Catholic moan. Forgive me. There's the mountaintop moan. Yoda, Yoda, hey, hey. doggy moan. There's the uninhibited militant bisexual moan. There's the tortured Zen moan. There's the diva moan. Yes, yes, yes. There's the college moan. We have to be quiet. My roommate's And finally, there's the surprise triple orgasm moan.
I showed it to the woman who the interview was based on. But she didn't really connect with it. She thought I was still managing to objectify vaginas. Even the moans were a way of objectifying vaginas, cutting it off from the rest of the vagina, the rest of the woman. There's a real difference in the way that lesbians see vaginas, and I hadn't yet captured it, so I interviewed her again.
As a lesbian, she said, I need you to start from a lesbian-centered place, not framed within a heterosexual context. I did not desire women, for example, because I disliked men. Men weren't even a part of the equation. You need to talk about entering vaginas. You can't talk about lesbian sex without doing this. For example, I'm having sex with a woman. She's inside me, I'm inside me, fucking myself together with her. There's 4 fingers inside me. 2 are hers and 2 are mine. I don't know that I wanted to talk about sex, but then again, how can I talk about vaginas without talking about them in action? I'm worried about the titillation factor, worried about the piece becoming exploitative. Am I talking about vaginas to arouse people? Is that a bad thing? As lesbians, she said, we know about vaginas. We touch them, we lick them, we play with them, we tease them. We notice when the clitoris swells. We notice our own. I realize I'm embarrassed listening to her. There's a combination of reasons: excitement, fear, her love of vaginas and comfort with them, and my distancing terror of saying all of this in front of you, the audience. I like to play with the rim of the vagina, she said, with fingers, knuckles, toes, tongue. I like to enter it slowly. Slowly entering, then thrusting 3 fingers inside. There's other cavities, other openings. There's the mouth. While I have a free hand, there's fingers in her mouth, fingers in her vagina, both going all at once. Her mouth sucking my fingers, her vagina sucking my fingers, both sucking, both wet. I realize I don't know what's appropriate. I don't even know what that word means. Who decides? I learned so much from what she's telling me about her and about me. Then I come to my own wetness. She says she can enter me. I can experience my own wetness. Let her slide her fingers into me, fingers in my mouth, my vagina the same. Then I pull her hand out of my cunt. I slide my wetness down her leg until my face is between her thighs. Does talking about vaginas ruin the mystery, or is that just a myth that keeps vaginas in the dark, unknowing and unsatisfied? My tongue is on her clitoris. My tongue replaces her fingers. My mouth enters her vagina. Saying these words feels naughty, dangerous, too direct, too specific, intense, wrong, in charge, alive. My tongue is on her clitoris, my tongue replaces my fingers, my mouth enters her vagina. To love women, to love our vaginas, to know them and touch them and be familiar with who we are and what we need. To satisfy ourselves, to teach our loves, to satisfy us, to be present. Present in our vaginas. To speak them out loud, to speak of their hunger and pain and loneliness and humor, to make them visible so they cannot be ravaged in the dark without great consequence, so that our point, our center, our motor, our dream can no longer be detached, mutilated, numb, broken, invisible, or ashamed. You need to talk about entering vaginas, she said. Come on, I say. Come in.